what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Dating is Hard podcast. I'm your host, Joe Welkie. For all the information about this show, go to datingishardcomedy.com. You can follow the Instagram at datingishardcomedy, and you can follow me on Instagram at Joe Welkie to get all the updates about my shows and updates about this podcast. The Dating is Hard live comedy game show is every fourth Wednesday at Pack Theater, and that's a by donation theater, so if you got extra money to chuck the theater's way, please do. And if you don't, guess what? You can still come and enjoy all the awesome shows that go on there. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe, rate, review, give the show 5 stars, tell all your friends about it if you're enjoying it, and if you're not enjoying it, shut your fucking mouth. Take that shit to the grave, tell no one. That is way too aggressive. I am sorry for the read on that one. I got really intense. But yeah, please don't tell anybody. Just, be fucking cool, you know? Anyway. So if you're not sure what this podcast is all about, it's about dating, relationships, love, sex, etc. And I try to give a snapshot of all the people out in LA dating and hopefully, the world eventually. But yeah, generally what I do is I meet people through dating apps, but today's a little bit different. I got a good comedy friend of mine on the show, so please enjoy my chat with Galina. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dating is Hard podcast. I'm Joe Welkie, and what usually happens on this podcast is I interview people, complete strangers from dating apps that I've met. I have profiles set up that say, hey, I'm looking for people to come on with the most unique, interesting, weird, etc. stories about dating. And that's what usually happens about 90% of the time. But every once in a while, we get a little bit of an outlier, and that's what's going on today. This is one of my comedian friends. She is a former contestant on the Dating is Hard game show. So I'd like to welcome to the show, Galina. Galina.
Hi.
Thanks for
coming
having
on.
Me. I'm so glad. So the reason why I reached out to you initially, I had you on the show, and I was like, hey, you should do the podcast. And then I kind of forgot about it. I was inundated with all of these complete randos. And then I saw you post something. It looked like it was Hinge. Was that a Hinge message?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And I was like,
you know your stuff.
Oh, I don't have a Dating is Hard skateboard for nothing, So I saw that and I was like, fuck, Galina, let's get you on. So you're on Hinge. You on any of the other ones or just Hinge?
I'm on Bumble, but I haven't opened it in maybe a month and a half.
Why not?
Because that one is so much more... First of all, it irritates me that I have to reach out on Bumble. And what's even more irritating is that I don't get responses most of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
On Bumble?
On Bumble.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So you think Hinge is better than all the ones that you've tried previously, or?
So far, I go through these phases where for a couple of months, I'll be on the apps. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not proactive about it because it starts to feel like a chore very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then I delete them again. And then I'll date someone outside of meeting on an app, and then that'll go to shit, and then I'll download the apps again, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I feel like the max that I can be on apps when I'm on there to date is 2 weeks, and then I'm just this is awful. And then you just delete them, and then wait a couple months, be lonely, and then get back on them.
It just feels like a chore. I just can't describe it any other way. When there's messages, I'm like, oh, I got to open this and deal with these messages.
Well, the thing that I've been hearing from women about Bumble is a lot of women are starting to hate Bumble now because of the 24-hour time limit that you have to message the person.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to sift through however many matches you have and then message them within 24 hours.
Right.
Dude, fuck that.
Yeah. I always forget to. I'll get them in a time that's inconvenient. I'll be in the middle of something. Mm-hmm. I'll match somebody. I'll go, oh, him, I want to message him, and then completely forget about it.
So what do you like about Hinge over all the other ones?
I like that I don't have to go through. I don't do any liking on Hinge myself, which I know sounds so narcissistic, but I just wait for my likes to pour in, and then I just go through those. And I match and I don't.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of experience for women. Like, if you're on it for let's say you're on a dating app for 2 days, then you don't really have to do much swiping because you'll just match with people automatically, I feel like, as opposed to...
Well, you still have to swipe on Bumble. But on Hinge,
true.
I've never had to do any of the picking myself because I just wait for them to come into my inbox, and then I just pick whether I like them or not.
Yeah, because then they can send you like a heart about something on your profile.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like Hinge. I always talk. I should be sponsored by Hinge. Hinge fucking sponsor me. I think that Hinge is the best one because it allows you to. An integral part of that app is showcasing your personality with their like little questions.
Right.
And that's where I get some of the questions for the Dating is Hard comedy game show every fourth Wednesday on Pack Theater.
Good to know. That was a fun show. I didn't know you were plagiarizing on it, but it was still a good time.
Well, okay. All right. It's a little bit of plagiarizing. Not all specific plagiarizing, but there's a little tinge, a little borrowing. But
I won't tell.
All right. Thank you. God, that'd be terrible. Just the downfall of my empire. So what do you look for when you're on there, like when you're looking to swipe right?
Oh, it's all superficial on there. I mean, that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
I just see whether I'm attracted to a person or not and whether they have anything horribly obnoxious on the profile, because then that's like, oh, okay, I can't do that.
Well, do you have a type, or is it just
I definitely
hot
have a type.
dudes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. What's the type?
Pretty boys. I know that's not great, but almost everyone I date looks like they're from Connecticut, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so like
very
preppy,
yeah,
vineyard
clean
vines,
cut. Mm-hmm.
boat shoes.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, God, Galina.
I don't know how it happened. It just did.
Well, are you from there? Where are you from?
No, I'm from Ohio.
I
just describe it that way because I don't know how to generalize it better than that.
Yeah. No, as soon as you said that, like...
Yeah, a type
pastels,
comes to mind. Mm-hmm.
Pastels. Shorts with little patterned whales on them.
I mean, not that bad, but...
It's that bad. I'm going to make it that bad.
I've dated a lot of frat boy looking types.
Yeah. What makes you swipe left on somebody?
If I'm not attracted, but that's a given.
Yeah. But
And
like,
then if there's what I consider to be very cringy photos, even if the guy is good looking, but if there's cringy photos, I won't swipe right.
what's a cringy photo example?
Too many selfies, doing weird angles, MySpace style angles.
Yes!
I hate shirtless pics. I really
Dude,
do.
I'm so glad that you brought up the MySpace angles because I said that to somebody else that was on this show, and they were younger than, I'm like 30, and like 30, I am 30, and they were like 22, and I was like, yeah, they had the MySpace angles, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh,
I guess that is a certain age.
Yeah, I mean, I went out with this girl last year who was 19, and I had to explain to her what the Y2K scare was, and she was like, that sounds so stupid, and I was like, it was a really big deal for us.
It was.
God, we're getting so old. Really.
She's like, I was in diapers.
Yeah, I know. Or, yeah, I don't know. Wait, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have an age range?
I have an age range on the app, but outside of it, I skew.
Oh, yeah. What's the app age range?
The app age range is 27 to 37.
Okay, that's wide. That's good enough.
It's wide enough. Yeah.
Dude, for this, I have like 18 to 80. I've been, not a lot of like 50-year-olds want to come on a podcast.
Oh, I bet.
But, some of them do. I had like a 42-year-old lady. That was nice. That was cool. So wait, when you skew in real life, what if like an 18-year-old hottie came out to you and was like, hey, what's up?
I'm not 18.
Not 18? Why not? Do you want to rob the cradle?
Not that far.
Well,
not grand theft.
Yeah. Oh, grand theft. Cradle. Rob.
But I've dated younger than that, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens.
Sometimes, you're just wowed by people in person,
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I feel like, I don't know if you're like this, but a person that I wouldn't necessarily be into, if they approach me in person, and they're like, hey, I'd like to, I'm interested in you or whatever, I'm way more likely to go out with that person, even if they're not exactly my type, just because of, I guess, the ease of it.
Sure. Well, that makes sense from a guy's standpoint, because if I did that, I would have to date so many people that I know I don't want to date, and
That's
I think
true.
that's not fair to them to waste. It's not fair to both of us to waste my time and their time, so I don't quite do that, but I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It also shows like the balls of it to be like, oh, okay, you're like really ballsy right now. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you appreciate the mild aggression.
Yeah. A lot of people think that that's like not cool. Like a lot of women are like, no, guys don't want that.
Oh. I guess I would think that too, because I wouldn't approach a guy if I was attracted to him.
Really? Have you never approached a guy ever?
Not in a straightforward way like that. I'll do some manipulative shit.
Like what?
I mean, I'll find a way to try to I'll develop crushes, and then I'll try to spend time with him in some way that is not so direct. I would never just walk up to a guy and be like, hey, I'm interested, take me out.
Yeah.
Because that is a level of vulnerability that I'm not willing to get to.
Well, do you have any examples of like this manipulation from your past, or?
Oh, sure. Let me think. Let me think of one that's not going to get back to me and get me in trouble. Ooh, I don't want to give too much silent space on this because it's a podcast, so it's not good for listeners, so I'm just trying to come up with something super quick, but I'm like, how far back can I go to where this isn't going to embarrass me?
Where will my past not catch up with me?
Yeah. I guess I would spend time with a college crush. Like, he was head of an organization on campus, so I joined the organization just to be around him.
Oh, that's adorable.
Things like that.
What was the organization?
It was like a student council thing.
Okay.
Where it was like he was head of activities, and I volunteered to like work on the activities.
Did it work out for you? Did you end up going out with him?
Yeah, I did.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, everybody listening, manipulate. Force your way into that person's life so that they can't avoid you, and then
that's
off
my
to the
move.
races.
It works 9 out of 10 times probably. I don't know what that says about me, but the approach is working.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because if you're always around somebody, then, you know.
They start to see you as an option.
Exactly. And it's just, I don't know, there's a whole thing of like the don't shit where you eat, though. Have you ever been worried about that?
All the time. And it has
and
blown back on me all the time.
I gleefully ignore it.
I do gleefully ignore it. I tell myself I'm not going to, but I have such a hard time with online dating. And I'm so restricted in who I'm meeting just based on what I do. Because my job keeps me, like, it's all appointment-based. I'm a traveling notary for anyone listening. So I'm always, like, random places. I don't have coworkers in my day job. And unless I'm in, like, a certain type of environment. Like, I always kind of daydreamed about, oh, how great would it be to, like, meet someone at an activity, like at, like, a yoga class or at something similar to that. But then people in LA don't talk to each other at those types of things.
Yeah.
So it doesn't... I met a guy out in the blue organically, like, once and dated him for, like, a month, and that was cool. Like, I was getting an oil change, and a guy approached me while I was, like, sitting at the table reading a book. And then I ended up going out with him. But that so rarely happens now because everybody's just in their phones all the time. Everybody looks really unapproachable. So you're kind of stuck with the cohorts of people you're around. Or you're on the apps.
The people that you're around. Well, I agree with you on that because I just read so many articles that are like, I'm not here for you to approach me. Like, even like, it's like, I'm at bars. I'm at a bar with my friend. Like, don't come and approach me. Everyone always thinks that, like, going to the gym is, like, a great place to meet people. It's
I
like,
hate getting approached at the gym,
who the fuck is doing that? Like, that's just...
Yeah.
Don't you know? Like, people are there to work out. There's so many barriers. Like, they have headphones on, so you have to be like, hey, can you take out your headphones? It's like, ugh, no, dude, like, ugh.
I don't know why I have a delineation between, like, gym and yoga class, because I feel like at the gym I definitely don't want to get approached. But if I was somewhere else, if I was, like, kickboxing or something more group-oriented, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
Well, I think going to the gym is more of, like, an individual thing, whereas if you're taking a class, you're in it together.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, oh, we have this in common. Like, if you're at the gym and you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to do my own thing. Yeah. And there's also, when you're in a class, you can't wear headphones.
Right. That too.
Yeah. And then you can you have something in common to talk with the person about. It's like, wow, that was a fucking...
Yeah. Well, this teacher.
Oh, you should come on Wednesday. They're really blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
By the way, you're pretty cute. So what would be, like, your ideal... like, situation where somebody would approach you? Like, is it the yoga activity thing?
Maybe I would say, I feel like a good spot, but this doesn't happen too often, would be getting approached at like a mutual friend's birthday or party or something like that.
Okay.
Because what I also like is having, not necessarily a filter, but I like to just not meet complete strangers. I like to meet someone that's already been vouched for by somebody else I know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best case scenario.
That's a big thing. It's like, oh, if you know Christina, then you must be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Hinge used to be. Do you remember when Hinge like first started? It was you were swiping on people that were like 1 degree of separation from your Facebook friends.
Yeah, they took that away, huh?
I think so.
Forgot about that.
Somebody told me that it is still that,
Mm-hmm.
but they've opened up the degrees of separation or something.
Mm-hmm. No, there's no separation in mine. I'm getting complete randos.
Yeah, I don't buy it. But also as comedians, we're like friends with thousands and
I
thousands
don't hit
of people.
X faster on anyone than a comedian. But I always take a screenshot of the profile just in case I need it later.
It's funny because like doing this, I'll see a bunch of comedians on and I'm like swiping right. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect.
Yeah.
And then like I just don't get swipe right. So that's when I'm like, get on Instagram DMs or like Facebook Messenger. I'm like, hey, I saw you on the thing. You want to do this podcast? Because a lot of people think I'm up to like nefarious purposes with this podcast. Like, and I get it. There's creeps out there that are like, doing shit. But yeah, I have to like prove myself so many different ways to be like, look, this is legit. So it's nice to have somebody that I already know come on sometimes where it's like, whew, you already know I'm a person. You did my show. Like, it's fine. Good Lord. So what do you think is like a good first date activity if you were to plan the first date?
I think first dates should be very brief.
Really?
I think it should be restricted to like under 90 minutes or under, so coffee or a drink. I don't want to be stuck with someone that it might not be vibing with at all for a long period of time, so I wouldn't ever do anything elaborate on a first date.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Elaborate shit is like some second date shit.
That's some second date shit, dudes. Yeah, I've been burned on trying to do elaborate shit. Because like
on first dates?
Yeah.
Why would you though? Because you don't know what you're coming into.
You want to stand out.
Yeah. But what if you're not vibing at all?
Then we're already doing something fun.
Fair enough.
That's what...
But it's not fun if you're having a terrible time with each other.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I like your 90-minute time limit. Just setting alarms like, oh, time's up, date's over. Like,
well, when it's a complete stranger, I want to have a hard out because you never know.
Yeah. Have you ever done the thing where it's like, you had your friend call you and ditched?
No, because I don't even agree to things that aren't already inherently, like, come with an easy out.
Yeah.
Like, I almost always go to coffee or a drink.
Yeah. Lately, it's been coffee for me because I don't drink. But, yeah, the last couple times I tried to do something elaborate, it's like, you just get burned. But then, you want to stand out. You want to do something unique because I'm sure that you've been on like a million coffee dates at this point where it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And when you go to those, you really have to like bring it with the personality.
Yeah. But I've had good ones that have led to second and third dates, or I've had really bad ones where I'm like, oh, thank God we only got coffee because I don't ever want to see this person again.
What happened on those bad ones?
Just people aren't what you're expecting based on, like, I had one probably a year ago. I went on a coffee date with this guy and we had such great banter online back and forth through texting. And when I met him in person, he was just a dud.
Dude.
And it was like, how are we so great at texting? Like, how are we having these great back and forths? And it was really involved and he was funny through text. And I get there and it's like, oh, you're not even trying. I mean, he showed up in like dirty old clothes that looked like shit. And it was like, do you not want to be here? Why'd you invite me?
Yeah. Dude, I feel like that's the worst part about like dating apps is when you have like a good, well, there's obviously like murders and stuff. That's obviously that's worse.
Set that aside.
Yeah. Aside from like the horrific crimes, but on a surface level is when you have great chemistry on an app or through texting and then you meet the person and it's just a completely different human being. But then I found out, and this was like one of the first episodes I did of this show, is this one woman I know, she was a dating coach, and based on how much you paid her, if you paid her enough money, she would be the one messaging people for the guys.
Oh, okay.
So there could be a little bit of that situation going on.
That's very misleading.
That's incredibly misleading. When she told me that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What if the guy shows up and he's not like how you've been messaging? She's like, oh. It's like, what? All right. Well.
She would have to relay the whole conversation back to that guy to make sure that the talking points weren't out of the blue if the date brings them up.
That's
Be
true.
like, oh, you told me you went to this high school? Like, no, I didn't. Can't have that.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I don't know. That was so wild to me when she told me that. And I was like, oh, well, you're just like intentionally kind of misleading people.
I bet that happens more frequently than we would imagine, though, because I'm sure people have their friends also doing it for them.
Yeah, I know girls that have their girlfriends do it for them. And then, you meet up with them and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So do you have a story of like what the best first date you've ever been on was?
I don't think I have any of my great date stories are with people that I already knew. I don't have any great date stories with complete strangers off
Really?
apps. Yeah.
That's so sad.
Well, I just haven't gone on a ton of app dates.
Well, how many do you think you've been on?
6?
6?
7? Ballpark? Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I don't do it a lot. I hate online dating.
Well, how long have you been on them?
I mean, on and off for probably 4 or 5 years. Whenever Tinder came out, that was probably my first go at it.
Oh my God, you've been on like one a year.
Pretty much.
You're
I
very
don't do them a lot.
selective.
I'm very selective.
Very picky.
And I just hate dating so much.
Why?
It's such a nuisance. What a guest for a show all about dating.
I mean, it's called Dating is Hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
You hate it.
It feels like a chore. And I'm not a person who minds being single at all. And I'm still like hoping that I'll meet someone in an organic way, which is why I don't press the online dating that much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't been on that many to where I have this huge range
That's
of
so
terrible
sad.
dates.
This is so sad.
I've just had so many like conversations with people, and then I'm like, oh, I think this is going well. And then the other thing that happens is I'll just be talking to people for days on these apps waiting for them to ask me out. And it's like, why do you keep talking to me and you're not actually setting a date?
Yeah, they don't ask
You
for
know?
your number or anything.
A lot of times they do ask for my number, and a lot of times it'll get to like, oh, hey, we're going to hang out Monday, right? Like, you're good for Monday. And I'm like, I'm good for Monday. And then they just disappear.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's happened a lot. And then that just puts my perspective of online dating even lower. So I'm like, why am I going to bother with this? People are so flaky. There's no accountability. And it goes both ways because I've also flaked on people.
Yeah.
Because you haven't met them, so there's no accountability at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to be better about with myself, with like being less of a flake and giving people actual reasons. Like, hey, I'm just not feeling this, or like I don't feel like doing this today. Because I mean, I absolutely hate when people flake, but I get it. Like I've heard, I don't owe you shit so many times where I'm just like, yeah, I know that you don't owe me anything, but like we had a plan, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Like, don't let me clear my afternoon for you or my evening for you, and then you
Exactly.
just MIA.
I mean, that
That's
was
so
like
weird.
That was like exactly what happened today. Like I set time aside to do a podcast with somebody else, and they booked something, which is like, okay, great. You know, I'm happy for you. She was like, let's reschedule. Perfect. I don't anticipate hearing from that person ever again. You know, I'm of the opinion of if you are the one to cancel the date, you are the one to make the reschedule plan.
100%.
Not a lot of people feel that way.
No, and there was one guy, and it had gotten to the point where we were texting, this was very recently, for like a couple of weeks. And he kept trying to make plans with me, and then he kept getting too tired. And that excuse to me is so lame and makes me not even want to meet a person, because I'm like, what are you so tired from?
Yeah, that's
Do you
bullshit.
have Lyme disease? You can't be this tired. This is absolute bullshit. And then finally, a couple weeks in, like, I just wouldn't hear from him for a week, and then he'd come out of the blue and be like, what are you doing? Let's make plans. And I'm like, okay, fine. Fuck it. Like, let's just make plans. So we had made plans for an evening, and then I kept my evening clear. And then I texted him at like 4 p.m. and I'm like, hey, are we still meeting up today? What's the location? What's going on? Didn't hear from him. And that was it.
Wow.
No more talking.
Weeks of buildup.
Weeks of buildup.
Now I could see why that you'd be burnt out on dating apps if that's like continually happening to you.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that only
Some
happened to
version
guys.
of that. No.
God. That's so
And it's like, you're the one that asked me for plans, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you brought up making plans. I said yes, and now you're going to disappear?
Yeah.
Don't even ask me out then.
And then you're too tired. Like, fucking get a Red Bull,
You're so
dude.
tired.
It's not that.
No.
It's not. Well, I also think it's like, don't take a first date so seriously. Mm-hmm. Like, but you want to be at your best because you want to be impressing the person, but don't take it seriously. It's like all this juggling bullshit.
And he also, I think the first time that we were going to try to make plans, he was trying to get me to just come over to his place. And I will not do that.
Fucking
I
nice,
have
bro.
serious boundaries.
Fucking nice, dude.
Yeah, so I was not willing to do that at all. And then I went on another date, maybe like a month ago from Bumble. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where the miscommunication happened, but he too thought I was coming to his place. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm meeting you out for a drink. Why would I go to your place, you psychopath? I don't know you.
Well, dude, it's like, that's number one, very loaded. He's just like, oh, you're just going to come to my place.
Yeah.
Number two, like, that's dangerous as fuck.
Yeah, and no, I'm not going to do that. And then we get to the bar, and he goes, oh, I thought you were coming over my place. And I'm like, no, I never communicated that to you. And he goes, oh, then why did I just clean?
Wow.
So you don't live in a pigsty? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't be mad you have a clean apartment now because there was a miscommunication. I never told you I was coming over.
Wait, now my apartment's clean for fucking nothing.
Yeah. And the date had gone well. Like, we'd had a good time at it, and it was fun. But then I never heard from him again. And I'm like, is that because he's so salty that he cleaned his apartment and I didn't want to come over? Whatever.
Jesus Christ. And that's a rarity for you because you hate Bumble.
Mm-hmm. That was while I was still pro Bumble.
Yeah.
I'll probably be deleting them this week.
Yeah, I fucking hate Bumble. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about me personally, but I never do well on Bumble. Ever. I could have the same...
Are you quick about responding to people?
I'm very quick about responding to everybody. I mean, unless I'm like doing this podcast or I'm asleep. Yeah. I am a maniac about my phone. I think it's such bullshit when people are like, oh, I'm just bad at texting or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, it's 2019.
Yeah, but some people are.
But I don't get how.
I know.
Are you bad at texting?
I'm not, but my brother's very bad at texting, so it's not like I can ever... It's not like he doesn't... That's a person that there's no bias to where it's not that he doesn't want to talk to me. It's that he genuinely has always been bad with his phone.
Can you help me understand how a person gets to that?
Because certain people are really absent-minded, and they can be in the middle of doing something, see a text, read it, digest it, go, I'll answer this in a second, and then it just, like, whoosh, like, straight out of their brains.
Okay. Because that's been always a thing that
It's just a personality type.
I fucking hate that so much. I'm like, this is the most... Number one, you're on an app that is specifically all text. Mm-hmm. Number two, it is the most common form of communication at this point. It really is.
For our generation.
It's like, what do you want me to do? You want me to call you? Mm-hmm. If a guy called you, would that be weird?
No, I kind of like getting called.
You like getting called?
It's so rare.
Yeah. I hate it.
But not if I've never met him, actually. I don't want to talk on the phone with someone I haven't met yet.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I know people that are like, I want to talk to you on the phone before we go out.
Okay.
So
I can respect that.
I guess, like, vouch if I'm a real person.
It's just not that for me, but
yeah,
I get it.
I get that, but I hate talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really disheartening that you don't have like a... This is like the best
I just don't have a great date story with a stranger.
What's the best date story you've had, period? Where it's like, this is the best date I've ever been on?
Oh.
You don't need to name names or anything.
He's not going to listen to it. No offense. It's just, he lives in France, if that makes you feel better.
Oh, okay. Well, now this is going to be an epic date.
Yeah, I met a guy. I was doing an English-speaking comedy night in Paris.
Yeah.
And I met him there. And then we, like, he walked me. He lives in Paris, so he knows the city. So he, like, walked me around the city, and we just were making out all over Paris. So
that's pretty badass.
That's my most romantic date story. Kind of can't top that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't top that in America anymore.
No.
Wait, you were doing comedy in France?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you there for?
Just a couple days.
And then you were just...
I happened to already be on, like, a miniature Euro trip. And I had some contacts through some other comics that had done spots there before, and I was able to get a spot on a show.
Dude, that's
so I was like,
awesome.
oh, well, I'm already here. I might as well do a show and see what it's like.
And the guy was just at the show?
He hosted the show.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's not even shitting where you eat because he lives in France.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so romantic.
Oh, it was great. And then I was in Portugal the following year, and he flew down to meet me.
Wow.
Yeah, so then we had another great date in Portugal.
This guy.
Yeah, right?
This guy's got to
Set
come
the
to
bar
America.
pretty high.
If he came to America, would you? And
he has. So he came to LA, and I feel so bad about this because I was kind of cold with him. I went out for a drink with him here, and I just was in a terrible mood because I had gotten dumped a couple days before. So I just was not in a good mood at all. And it would have been such a good opportunity to hang out with him again and feel better, but for whatever reason I just was not in the right headspace, and I was pretty cold with him last time he was here.
Wow.
Yeah.
You fucked that up.
Yeah, but we're still in touch, and I don't think he holds it against me.
Okay. If he were to be like, hey, I'm going to take this comedy thing serious, I'm going to move to LA, would you be like, hey, what are you
Then
up
I
to?
wouldn't want anything to do with him. Is that terrible?
Oh, thanks
because
for
it
moving
wouldn't
here.
matter. The things that he has accomplished there wouldn't carry over. Nobody here cares.
Well, yeah. I mean, wasn't there a documentary about the guy that's the French Seinfeld, and he tried to come to America and nobody gave a shit?
Maybe. I guess I didn't give a shit enough to watch the documentary. I believe it, though.
I think I've heard of it. I didn't watch the documentary, but I've heard of it. Do you have any off the top of your head, just the worst date you've ever been on?
Ooh.
Where it was just what the fuck is happening? Doesn't have to be from a nap. Just be any kind of date.
I'm trying to think now. Because there must have been something in college where it was this is a huge what the fuck moment. That's probably when I did my most dating. And then I moved here and took a couple years off.
Couple years?
Couple years. Yeah, for 3 years I didn't date at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's spawned out? Were you just working hard? Just fucking grinding?
A little bit of that. That was part of it because I had a chaotic year when I started doing stand-up. I got up 365 times and I had no life and I was working full-time 6 days a week. So there just truly was no space for it. And then 2 years before that, I think I was just I was borderline depressed after I moved here because I just had a few things go really wrong. My first apartment, I had a Peeping Tom. I had to break the lease and move out because I was so uncomfortable. I didn't feel safe. I had a couple long-term friendships dissolve. It was just a bad year.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I just spent kind of healing myself and figuring out who I was and what I was doing here. And then that was followed by a third year where I had started doing stand-up and I was just so obsessed with that then I didn't have space for dating. And so it just took 3 years to kind of reconfigure my life and be okay, I can date now.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, that sounds horrific.
It was.
How long have you been in LA?
7 years.
And that was the first 3?
That was the first 3.
Fuck,
yeah.
Well, I know that you had that joke in your act about a Peeping Tom, but I was just was it a consistent thing?
I had 2 Peeping Toms.
2 peeping?
Yeah.
Dude,
At
what
least
the
2.
fuck?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing anymore.
It was. It was apparently
my
really
God.
common in Culver City.
Really?
Yeah, not to shit on Culver City. Not that I owe them anything, but when I had been breaking that lease and apartment hunting, I actually met another girl who was leaving her apartment a couple blocks away from me for the same reason.
Did they think it was the same guy?
I don't think so. Because her guys were more elaborate. They busted her shower window and tried to install a camera in her bathroom.
Oh my God. What was your guy? Just outside the window?
My guy was outside the window. The first guy was this shorter, older Hispanic man. And he got chased away by my next door neighbors because he was looking in on my neighbor's girlfriend, and the boyfriend chased him away with a hockey stick.
Holy shit, dude.
And then after that, they installed motion sensor lights outside the building. And they were so sensitive they would go off when people were walking their dogs down the sidewalk. So for a while it kind of calmed down and I thought, okay, it's fine, it's safe. I can sleep in my bedroom again. I spent a couple months sleeping on the couch with a baseball bat because I was so scared.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one night, many months after the first incident, I got a knock on my bedroom window at 11 p.m. in the middle of the week. It was like a Thursday or something. And I was like, he's back. I'm ready for him. So I grabbed my baseball bat and I run outside to confront him. And it had been LAPD knocking on my window. They wanted me to come out and make a statement because they had caught a different guy, like a young red-haired kid looking in.
God,
and they arrested him and they wanted my statement. So I had at least 2.
Oh my God.
So I was like very traumatized my first couple of years here. I was not concerned about finding love.
Yeah, I can understand why.
Yeah.
Oh my Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my God. It'd be hilarious if you like swung on the LAPD though. You're just like, fuck yeah.
They kind of gave me this look though when I ran out with the baseball bat. They're like, what did she think was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't think Peeping Toms are the type to like knock on the window and be like, hey, I'm out here.
But you never know, and I had grown so paranoid about it because it had happened 6 months before.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like the thing about the motion sensor lights too is if they're going off constantly, then you can't live in that constant paranoia.
No, so I just relaxed.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, and
dude.
then the neighbor in the building next door saw it and called the police.
Oh my God. Well, good thing. That's a good neighbor.
Yeah.
I don't think any of my neighbors would do that shit. Luckily, I live on the 3rd floor.
I would. I love calling the police.
Really?
Yeah. If I could text them, I'd be texting them all the time about this.
Wait, what do you call the police about?
Transient people in my carport all the time. One time I called the police because I turned down my street and there was a guy wearing a cape that was running down the middle of the street, and I was like, there's something that needs to be checked out there. I call about suspicious people all the time.
That's very responsible of you. A guy running in a cape.
Because I just don't, I watch too much true crime and I just can't be the person that like lets something slip if it might be dangerous for other people or for me.
Yeah.
Like one time there had been a helicopter circling my area for like 20, 30 minutes. And I come outside and I get into my car and there's like 2 teenagers with backpacks that are hiding in one of the carports. And I'm like, maybe this is what the helicopter's looking for. So I called it in. Like, I'm not going to not.
Yeah.
There's no reason for people to be hanging out in a carport. Period. Like, there's no good reason that you're not supposed to be there. So, of course, I'm going to call it in.
Dude, even if I was a helicopter above me with the light shining down, I remember one time I was with a girlfriend that I had, and we were visiting my home in Baltimore, and for some reason there was a police helicopter with the light shining down, and it was like close to where I live, and she, like, we parked and she got out of the car and was like, oh my God, look, and she's like looking up at the helicopter and she's like trying to go to where the light was. I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? They're looking for somebody they're not just going to like shine the light for somebody that stole a candy bar. This is a serious thing. So I grabbed her and I was like, let's go inside, you know? Some people are so oblivious to like the dangers of that shit.
Oh, no, I'm not. If anything, I'm extra paranoid.
You're extra vigilant now.
I am, yeah.
Oh, dude. Peeping Toms. That's such like a 1950s weird. You
would think.
Yeah, but not anymore, I guess.
No.
Now they're more sophisticated. Like they were trying to install a camera.
Right?
Dude.
I mean, I'm lucky that didn't happen.
Did you move in with that girl? Just like the 2 Peeping Toms. That'd be fucking hilarious. Just
it would be.
Like steel on your windows and everything. Oh man. So wait, sorry, we got off track very hard.
We did. Oh. Anyway, I haven't had any totally egregious first dates, but I had a bad date with a guy that I had been seeing for a little while where one night he just did the whole like you up at 2 a.m. thing to me.
Oh.
And I was already seeing him and hooking up with him, so I was like, fine, come over. And he came over so drunk, he like didn't have his shoes.
He didn't have his shoes?
He lost his shoes.
Was he barefoot or socks?
He was barefoot.
Good Lord.
And then during sex, I don't know if this is TMI, but he like slapped me across the face so hard. He almost sent me flying into my bookshelf.
Oh my God.
And it was like, dude, I did not ask for this.
Yeah.
So that's the worst date I've ever had.
Oh my God.
It's not a first date.
Well, that's not even a date, I don't think.
No.
I wouldn't even qualify.
And then he called me the next day and he's like, do you know where I can find my shoes?
Did I leave my shoes there?
I called his roommate. I was like, come get him. So that was bad.
Yeah, that's terrible. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. That's so... Oh God. Well, I don't know where you go from there. That's like just like... Had he shown like previous of like slapping you in the face?
No,
Dude,
nothing like that.
Jesus
and he didn't remember
Christ.
doing it either.
Did you bring it up to him
Yeah,
later?
and he was very apologetic, but he had no recall of that happening.
Well, I'm gonna... Yeah, that's... I don't know. I've never drank or been drunk, so I don't know, like, the weird urges that you get if you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna fucking slap her. I don't know. We'll see where this goes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, God. Well, at least he apologized.
Yeah. And it's like, I've had bad dates with boyfriends.
Well, like what?
A boyfriend that I had when I was, I turned 21 during the relationship, and he picked a fight with me on my birthday.
Oh, no. About what?
About the fact that I had been, like, talking to some other guy. He had severe trust issues.
Ah.
And I was not flirting with this other guy. I think it was a business thing, actually. I think, like, I was a realtor at the time, and I was trying to tell this guy that he should call me and we should do business together. And the boyfriend got so mad at that. He was like, "You're really going to flirt in front of me?" And I'm like, "I'm really not, but okay."
I'm trying to make them bags, baby. Do you have any, like, terrible breakups? Or have all of your breakups?
Yeah, lots of terrible breakups.
What happened?
That was one of them. That was actually
the
worst
You broke up
one.
with him because of that?
That guy, I didn't break up with him because of that, but I did break up with him because of his trust issues.
Yeah.
So I had been with him for about 9 months, and he used to pick fights with me that I would call, they were like compounding fights.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time he'd have a fight with me, he would bring up a previous fight, and I'm like, I thought we put this to rest. So by the time the end of the relationship came, he was fighting with me about 12 different things. My birthday's in June, and this was like December, and he'd be like, "Hey, do you remember in June when you fucking talked to a guy at your birthday party?" And I'm like, "We're not past this yet. What's going on?" And
Oh, God.
I broke it off with him because I caught him looking at my phone, even though I hadn't been doing anything like worth him looking through my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I broke up with him. I'm like, "Look, we're clearly not getting along. We fight all the time. You don't trust me. I can't keep doing this with you." And he started crying so hard he threw up.
Wow.
Yeah.
He must be a great girlfriend. That must have been some passionate dating.
Yeah, and I was like, how can you even get this upset over this? Like, it wasn't going well.
Yeah, I mean, he was already, like, accusing you of being
Yes.
shady. And
It felt like he hated me.
And then you're like, hey, we probably
And then I was
shouldn't
like,
do
let's
this.
just end this.
And then he's like,
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I had been waiting for him to break up with me because I knew it was going to hurt him if I broke up with him. So for the longest time, I was like, break up with me. Come on. Like, he'd threaten it during fights. He'd be like, "I'm going to end this." And I'd be like, "Do it."
I fucking dare
Yeah,
you, bro.
do it. And then after, finally, I'm just like, I can't take it anymore. I broke up with him. He barfed. The next day, he was blowing up my phone so much that he killed my phone battery while I was at work. I was like, I can't talk to you. I'm at work. And he called me so much that my battery died.
Oh, Jesus.
And then he drove to my house and talked to my mom.
Wow. Holy shit.
That's probably my worst breakup.
Again, you must be a great girlfriend.
That was part of the trauma, though. I was like, nobody should be crying about me this hard.
Yeah.
Especially when the relationship hadn't been that great.
Yeah, and it also hadn't been... I mean, 9 months is significant enough, but
Sure.
not as significant enough to, like, barf all over yourself.
No.
God.
Oh, I
Galina.
forgot about that, and then I remember. Then I'm like, no wonder I took 3 years off dating.
I feel like that always happens when I do this with somebody because I'll ask like a specific question. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, I haven't thought about that person in decades."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Yeah, this guy just barfed all over himself."
And it's like most of my more serious, longer-term relationships all happened when I was much younger. They were ages like 17 to 23. So I don't even have that much recent stuff to go over and be like, this was terrible, because like it wasn't that long.
Well, what's the longest relationship that you've been in since you've been out in LA?
Oh, 2 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the first 3 years were gone. So
The first 3
basically
years were gone.
4 years in
Yeah.
LA. And then 2 months. Well, it's really hard because if you have a day job and then you're also doing comedy at night, it is so difficult to make time for people.
Yeah, but I don't have a day job, so I don't have that excuse.
Well, I mean, if you're going out with somebody else that does.
Right,
You know what I'm
that's true.
saying? Like if the guy that you're going to go out with has a day job, it's like you can't have an afternoon picnic or whatever.
No.
Would you want to go on a picnic as a date?
I would.
Really?
Yeah, I love being outside.
Ugh.
That would be cute.
That's terrible. I despise that.
I would do that.
Well, more power to you. Yeah, so then 2 months out of 4 years. Has there been like multiple 2 months ones, or is it just like a couple?
Yeah,
weeks?
Multiple, like in the 4 to 8 weeks range.
What do you think?
That's kind
makes
of all
it fizzle out?
Probably me projecting wanting a boyfriend onto guys that I date, and them not being the person that I'm projecting onto them at all. If that makes sense.
So do you want a boyfriend?
I do. But then I date guys who are so not who I make them out to be. And then reality catches up. Because it always will.
Yeah. Yeah, that always happens. That's how there have been a couple of... The longest since I've been out here, I've been here for 3 years. The longest I've had was like 6 months. And I've been in a bunch of cycles of like the 2 months. Yeah. Where after 2 months, something fizzles out.
Shit hits the fan.
Well, you're not who you are. Great.
I take full responsibility, though.
Yeah. Do you have any guys that you're like, this is the one that got away?
Ooh, I totally do, but he's back in Ohio.
Oh. What happened?
This is so funny because I met him off MySpace.
Dude, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's how I met so many people.
Oh, my goodness.
When I was in like high school.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just this guy was like so cute and sweet, and we were friends, and we would see each other all the time at like concerts and stuff. And then we hung out on a couple of dates, but they weren't like, neither of us was being the aggressor, so it kind of fizzled out. And then yeah, I lost track of him, and he has no social media presence, and I still go looking for him because he was just so cute and sweet, and that's what that is, I guess.
Have you seen? He doesn't have social media at all.
No. I have no idea where he is.
That's crazy. That always weirds me out a little bit.
Right?
It's a little weird.
Yeah, but it's not as weird because I think there's a lot of people in Ohio that don't have a social media presence because they're not these arrogant narcissists that live here that think they're so important and everybody needs to know what they're doing all the time. So there's no reason for people like that to have social media. Like one of my exes that I like went out with in high school, he was like my high school sweetheart, and then we had a little relapse in college. He doesn't have Instagram. And he's barely on Facebook. It's so hard to stalk him. No Twitter, of course, nothing.
I have an ex that she has all of them, but she never posts anything. And I go on there all the time and I'm just like, what are you up to? You know?
Well, reasonable people who don't have like a job that includes the public shouldn't have social media.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the point?
It's dangerous as fuck. It brings people down.
Yeah.
But then I have this joke that I've always been trying to make work, and it really never did. But for the podcast setting, whatever. It doesn't. I'm not trying to kill here, I mean, a little bit, but I don't trust people that like don't have social media. Like by the time that people are our age are running for president, if they don't have some kind of nude out there, I don't trust them. I don't think that they're like a real American. Like they're a weirdo.
I've never sent nudes in my life.
You've never sent a nude in your entire life?
No, I never dated someone I trust enough with my nudes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you were a teenager, how long was your teenage relationship?
It was.
I mean, that was when you said
7 or 8 months.
That was when you said your most significant relationships were, right?
Yeah, I had one that was 2 years in college, but all the other ones were like 6 to 9 months.
Well, it was also more difficult back then too because we had like Motorola razors and
right.
shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but now it's like it's so easy to send nudes.
Well, now I don't do it because it's like I mostly date comics, and there's no way I would trust any of those assholes with my nudes. There's no way.
I've dated a couple comics. Yeah, my nude, dude. If I get anywhere in life, my nudes are going to be out there. There's going to be so many of them.
That's the other reason I'm like, no, I anticipate everything I do. I'm very like meticulous about making myself be cancel proof.
You seem
like I don't do Twitter.
You don't do...
I don't send egregious anything to anyone.
Yeah,
I used to have a podcast. I wiped it off the face of the earth.
What?
Things I said on it were not okay.
What was the podcast about?
It was called Why the World's Ending Today, and it was just a recap. It was me and Michael Burnett recapping news stories, but then elaborating on why any topic that we were talking about could lead to the end of the world. But just, it was so negative. It was funny, but it was so negative. And after about a year of recording in the Comedy Store podcast studio, they kicked out most of the podcasts. And then we hadn't been doing well enough to justify buying equipment, so we just let it go. And eventually I was like, oh, I can't keep paying for the server. So once I stopped paying for the server, it was wiped off the face of the earth. And I was like, you know what? That's probably a good thing.
That sounds like a hilarious podcast, though.
Oh, it was great. I loved doing it. Oh. But I would say horrible things.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the podcast is. It's just like building up for horrible things to be said.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
But we would make these crazy like claims where we would just rip on vegans or like rip on certain groups of people that were not actually doing any harm, because it was like funny for us, but it's things that I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty glad that like if I were to get an SNL, like nobody's got anything on me.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Would you date a vegan?
No.
That's what keeps happening to me. Is I keep like falling in love with vegans. And then like
it's probably fine, and I'm doing such a hard line no, but also food is so important to me, and that would just be such a huge barrier. It really would.
I've been in several, so speaking of like the 2-month relationships that we were talking about, I've been in several where I start dating a vegan. They know I'm not a vegan. And then 2 months later, they're like, I can't do this. You're not a vegan.
Yeah.
This is just like, that's such an important thing in my life. I thought that I could not do it.
But food is such an important thing in everybody's lives. It's like you're eating 3 times a day at least.
Yeah.
I'm eating snacks all the time. I can't have someone be judging me for my choices on food.
Yeah.
It's like you're judging my identity here.
The one girl that I only went on one date with her, she's like uber super vegan. She's like constantly posting.
She's preachy about it.
Dude.
I can't deal with that.
I can show you her Instagram story right now, and you'll be like, oh my God.
Oh.
Hold on a second.
Do you not unfollow people that you...
Well, I'm like friends with this person as well, but like...
In general, if you're dating someone, do you follow them right away? Do you unfollow them when it's over?
If we break up, I will unfollow. It depends on how severe and bad the breakup is.
Sure.
I mean, if it's bad, immediate unfollow.
Yeah.
But if we're still like friends or whatever, I'll keep them around. But generally, it's like a 2-week grace period, and then they're gone. You know.
That's fair.
Yeah, you got a 2-week grace period. Hang on a second, I gotta see.
I'm big on the mute, because I'm like, I won't let you see that I unfollowed you. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Well,
I'm showing her.
For listeners, it's it's just some posts with a dog and a pig, and like, who's eating dogs? Come on, why would you even put that there?
Well, they're all very much like, well, if you love dogs, then why do you eat pigs? And it's like, oh God.
Yeah, but if you're eating a plant-based diet, you're still killing mice and insects and other
I mean, they
small
get
life
caught in those turbines and
100%,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, it's craziness. But, whatever. They think they're doing shit.
To each
More
their
power
own.
to them. But God damn it, I keep falling in love with them. Nah, not necessarily, but you can't help who you like.
Sure.
But anyway, so we've been chatting for a while. Before we wrap things up, I got to ask you the 2 questions that I ask everybody at the end of the show. What is one thing that you would like to change about dating, if you could change one thing?
If I could change one thing, I would make people have a little bit more accountability for other people's feelings.
Other people's feelings? Or
Yes.
Why feelings? Not time?
And time. I just think people often go around acting like they're not affecting anyone else.
Oh, okay.
Just like a broad statement to make, but...
That's very broad. I was going to try. Can you be a little bit more...
Oh, like the whole... Oh, you're going to ask me to hang out on a specific day, and I'm going to make time for you, and then you're just going to vanish.
Yeah.
There's that.
Okay.
And just that people, I don't know if it's like a male-female thing, or I'm sure there's females that go around and do this too, or whatever same-sex couples experience this, but it's like, I think people don't set their intentions in advance, and then they go after things that they know they don't want, and then it's like, oh, that's so unfair to the other person, if that makes sense.
can you give a specific example? Because I'm still a little...
Oh, sure.
I'm stupid as fuck. I'm sorry.
I dated a guy once that was... And this is on me, too.
Okay.
But...
I love stories where it's like...
fresh out of a relationship, right?
Okay.
And was totally courting me and whining and dining and doing the whole thing and making me think that he was, like, in a place where he was okay with dating.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, hey, I'm not ready. I just got out of a relationship. And it's like, dude, you knew this up top.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Okay. That makes sense.
Or, like, set the intention in advance. Like, don't be whining and dining me and taking me out on proper dates when that's not what you wanted. You just wanted, like, a fuck buddy. Mm. Like, I think people should just be a little more clear about what they want.
Have you ever had a fuck buddy?
I have.
Do you like that?
Sometimes.
I feel like it always ends in disaster.
I have ones in different cities, and that's like a really good setup because then you can't get hurt.
You got hoes in different area codes?
I do.
If people could see my face, I was genuinely shocked. That's amazing.
Seems like a not Galina thing for people that know me, but it is.
Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. All right, last question before we wrap everything up. What's one piece of advice that you'd like to give people listening about dating?
Ooh, what a good, thoughtful question.
I know. I try to get thoughtful every once in a while in between all the shits and fucks.
Okay, so here's my advice. My advice is absolutely everybody should be in therapy. Nobody is above it, and nobody doesn't need it. And it will help you overcome whatever dating and or other hurdles that you may have. Uh-huh. Yeah, I think everybody needs therapy. That's my advice.
That is the first time I've done like 30 to 40 of these. That's the first time somebody said that. And I think that is like...
Is it not the best piece of advice?
That is probably the best piece of advice ever given. Like most people are like, just be honest.
No.
I'm like, no.
You can afford therapy. There's options online. There's sliding scale institutes. There's all sorts of ways that you think you can't get it, but you can. And it's the gym for your brain, and everybody needs it, and it will make your dating life healthier.
There you go. You can know your own shit.
Yes.
You can know other people's shit and empathize, etc. That's great advice.
Thank you.
Galina, do you have anything that you want to, like Instagram or a website that people can go to check out your stuff?
Sure. My website is just galinarivina.com, and I'm sure in your show notes my name will be there, so the spelling will be there. And then I'm at ThumbGalina on Instagram, and I'm not on Twitter because Twitter is evil. So,
yep, and it takes people down. And she doesn't have a podcast anymore.
And I don't have a podcast anymore. Sorry.
Watch this be the one that gets you canceled. That'd be freaking. I feel so bad.
I haven't said anything bad.
Yeah, I think you're safe. If anything, I'm getting canceled. Well, Galina, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
There you have it, everybody. That was my chat with Galina Rivina. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. I hope you guys check out her shit. She's really funny. Check out her show that she's doing. Yeah. For all the information about this show, though, you can go to datingisHardComedy.com. You can go to the Instagram at datingisHardComedy, and you can follow me on Instagram at Joe Welkie for all the updates about this show, my shows, things going on in my life. Dating is Hard live comedy game show is every fourth Wednesday at Pack Theater. That's a by donation theater, so that means if you got extra money to throw the theaters away, please do. If you don't, you can come and enjoy the show anyway. Please subscribe, rate, review, give 5 stars, tell all your friends about the show, and yeah, that about does it. So until next time, later.